their whole calendar was built around it. And so what the idea was, this would signal the coming of the flood, which would signal, growth and prosperity. And it would be sometime in July to August. So that's why it's like people sort of combine it with Leo season. But historically, it would have just happened on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. And they would have had this huge festival. And their, temples are aligned to Sirius, which most know, but we don't really think of it like it really was their guiding light more so than the sun, even though they had great reverence for the sun as well. So the fact that what came up for me as I was looking at that was there's so much more to be had with the relationship with this star. So if that interests you, even like, on a cosmological or astronomical type plane, look into it, because for me, I know that's the next place I'm going. So I did a little bit with the star itself, and I did a little bit with, just kind of the Lion's Gate. So there really are kind of two things going on, or three things really. There's the energy of the star, then there's the Leo season, and then there's also the number 8. So I wanted to kind of dive into the energy that I felt from the star itself and from its alignment, which, by the way, it's basically in alignment with the earth is the idea. And, I think the Lionsgate portal, we've sort of chosen 8/8 and sort of put some energetic meaning behind it to make it kind of our new sort of day. Which, by the way, it was called Septet. Okay, so that's how they called it in ancient Egypt. And those things are important. And even going back and looking at the original symbolism, I mean, this may not be the original culture that was aligned with this star, but it's kind of the one that we know about, at least. And it's a culture that much of our spiritual and, philosophical life stems from, even now today in many religions. So to go back and look at the vibration of those words in the original language, the vibration of the symbolism, because it wasn't just sound in these ancient languages, it was the symbols themselves. And so just Google, right? Like just doing some things like that can tie you in. Okay, do you have anything to add before I keep
No, go ahead. I want to hear about the what you tuned into on the.
So I found it to be this, number one, the colors that I found from this were like a blue and white. And it was kind of like that soul self, throat chakra blue, and then white, which was really interesting to me and made a lot of sense because it's definitely tied to our deepest, highest self. It's has a relation to the soul star chakra, which I didn't know till I dove in. And I've been seeing the soul star chakra kind of pop up. And I would equate that chakra to like the container, or the brainstem of the consciousness, kind of, if we had to compare it to the physical body. Mm-hmm. And so I've seen that popping in on very few people's readings, but more than I used to over the last year, kind of saying like, hey, it's time to level up and it's time to. So the idea behind that is that it's sort of, we spend our lives going through these relationships with the signs and the symbols and kind of those intuitive hits that we get. And when we begin, we can sort of feel like they're coming from some different places. Some may be coming from our ancestors. Some may be coming from, our heart space. Some from our gut instincts. some from our own solar psyche. And when we get to the level of using the soul star chakra in its entirety, and what I believe is happening is this is just the beginning of a what will probably be a long process, longer for some, shorter for others, of using the soul star chakra in the way that it's intended to be used, which is a synthesizer for all of this information, so that we're not doing the work of like, where's it coming from, or who can I trust this person. Once you have a good relationship with the signs and symbols and the people and entities and wherever you get your information, and you have a good clearing and purification in your, physical and energetic vessel, the soul star chakra can go, okay, I'll take it from here. And it can just start being one thing that does everything. And that's really what this Sirius Lionsgate portal can do for us. So it's a very versatile vibration. Not exactly original source vibration, but very, very close to original source vibration with its own kind of evolution. It's almost as though it sort of evolved as a process of itself and us kind of dipping in and using it. So it does have this more kind of soulful purpose infused, but it is really purely an ethereal type. So that being said, it's very malleable to where you could almost use it for anything in itself. Do you feel like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely feel, and I think that's why it's a gate portal, because a gate is an opening, it's a clearing, it's a bridge, let's just say an intro to some other dimension, and it being a portal. And it's like with that, when we get to, like, I like to call it portal popping, you can choose what you popping into, really, by your intentions, by your vibration, by your consciousness, your awareness, your focus, your energetic frequency at that time. So being intentional with it, with knowing all of the things of, okay, this star is in alignment. What does that mean? What does that represent? This, culture that is around, just having all of these layers, like you say, okay, it is Leo season, it is what's going on in your everyday life. It can be so many different things, but by being aware that this is the time to do it, like this is the time, because it will be supported with this energy.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, I like that you sort of reiterated that's why it's called a portal. So it's kind of like, well, where do you want to go? That's what you're saying, be intentional. This portal, and if you're not intentional, it's going to take you somewhere. You're just not going to be aware of what's driving that ship into wherever it is you're going. So this, and I think that's what leads to, some of the talk about, like, be careful with it, and you need an expert to help you navigate it and stuff, like, you don't. And there's really no dangerous you can go. There's a place you could go based on your subconscious thoughts that you might not care for, but like nothing's going to happen to you there. And it doesn't have to be like this big whole thing. It could just be like, the place I want to go today is a place where I have less pain in my body, or less racing thoughts in my mind, or a better relationship with my kids, or whatever it is. It could be small, but do set some kind of, well, we'll get to that, but do set some kind of intention. Because you're going to you're getting in a boat, whether you like it or not. So you might as well, give it directions.
Exactly. And I love what you said about it being like this experts about it. It's like we're always manifesting. That's really, this is that's why this is a major manifestation time. You need to pay me to do this and guide you and set the intention for you. And it's like, yeah, you could, if you're not sure and that person resonates with you and what you wanted to do, but it's always accessible by yourself, because like you said, you're going somewhere regardless. So directing that cell, putting in your GPS on where we're going right now, and really reflecting on what is the root cause about it. And I guess we'll go a little bit more deeper into that as we talking about, because right now it's like I said, all of these layers of things that's being in retrograde. It's a really reflective time. Like what made me feel this way. Like in my group tonight, we'll be doing a journaling session where we're looking at the belief system behind our triggers before we act, really taking a pause. And like, this is a really powerful time to do that. Really take that pause and look like, okay, this is what's the intention behind my actions, whether that be like you said, I want to be in this new relationship, or how did I get here, and how can I get to the next level where I'm going.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to summarize, because I feel like I do want to go more into maybe some of the tools that we can use, but I want to talk about the number 8. So,
Yes.
We have the Lionsgate portal, which is Sirius aligns with the sun. Right now, it happens to be in Leo, and that aligns with, the Earth. That's sort of where we're at. It's a pretty historic event in ancient times, ancient Egyptian times specifically. That's kind of this all-purpose, very powerful energy. Then it's sort of, it's aligned with sun energy, which is actually a 4th thing. Then it's like the sun in Leo. That's sort of a 3rd thing. And then we have this number 8 energy, which is really like the power of, infinity, really. This is calling into your awareness the infinite and ever available cyclical energy of the universe. It's calling into your awareness that you're part of, you're not a recipient of these higher energies. They are constantly in a cycle flowing in you and out of you, and you have full access and a right to them just by nature of being here and, being conscious and having this. So what I found when I dove in was leaning into the power of that infinite cycle of this pure, powerful energy is a really kind of all-purpose way to tap into this. And that's why I based the affirmation on that, because it's like, I think if you open yourself up and you become receptive to that cycle, and the cycle being, infinitely more powerful on a day such as today, or a time, such as this time, I think it will guide you. And you will know, as we talked about all these things, like, oh, you could manifest something small or something big. I think the key is there's a lot of, I think, uncertainty around the energy, because nobody knows what this is and why is it on the 8th and stuff like that. But I also think there's a lot of fear, and there's just a lot of unknowing. So there's almost, I felt like, the tiniest bit of resistance to full receiving of this energy, just by nature of there's a lot of energetic confusion around it. So I think opening up to, and that's very common. Like, I live in a place, near Sedona, which is a very common, like, spot in the US for, like, it's supposed to be a vortex. And it is. But because so many people have come there with so many intentions, I don't go there at all, because I find the energy extremely muddled, dirty. And that's kind of where we get with some of these astrological type events, because there's so many people not using them in their own way. That's fine. But then sort of putting it into the collective mind of, here's what this thing is, and here's what this thing isn't. And so even though that can be difficult, we can use that. And I think that's actually what's happened with the day 8/8, because last year I didn't feel this much of the real true Sirius energy around it. And this year I really do. And I think it happens because we're choosing 8/8. We're putting some good energy into that. And, It's just like with a word where we can shift the meaning over time. And before you know it, there's a new word in the dictionary even. We can do that with some of these dates. And I see good things coming from this as we choose 8/8. I think we have all kind of chosen 8/8, and we can continue to amplify the effects, even though it's not on like the exact day that it used to be and stuff like that. It seems like we're choosing the 8/8, and let's do that. Let's say, that's all perception is, right? Is choosing what, something means. And so if you want to choose 8/8, and if you're like, this date doesn't work for me, that doesn't make any sense, it's not on the original date, which a lot of people do, like, I don't know, go look up in the sky every morning like the Egyptians did. See when Sirius pops up just before sunrise, like do
exactly.
But yeah, so I think we forget too with these things that we have a level of control over them, even though there's all this deep history. So, okay, should we now go back to what's some stuff that we could do today?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the actual number 8 because you were saying
good.
that, we've chosen it, and just how symbolism is such a major thing in that culture, in our culture, and in this realm of reality and existence in itself. And like the symbol of the 8, and how you were saying like this is an alignment, it is a portal. And I always like to like really look at the symbol of it and see, I feel like we're like right in that little corner piece, and it's like twisting and turning in an infinite type of energetic frequency. And what was coming to me as you were speaking was how we can, and this kind of goes into also practices, how we can utilize this individually, especially using that number 8, because it is like a code to, like, I was seeing it as like a code. And it's like, okay, how you can just like putting a code into a vault, and it has to like click into some type of specific alignment to able to open up this portal. That's what this time is for yourself. And that can look like, for me, looking at your sun sign, looking at your the eighth house in your astrological chart, looking at where is Leo in your chart, looking at, like you said, even looking up at the stars and seeing if that's something that looks comes up for you. But really getting a code down for yourself, like, what does this really mean for you based off of who you are and where you are right at this moment. I really want to emphasize that, because yes, we are collectively choosing this 8/8, we are collectively choosing this Sirius time, but it's because it's us collectivizing so that we can each individually play a part within it. So find your code through your unique design, whatever that may look like. I like to use astrology, because we talking astrologicals with this. We talking about the Leo, we talking about the eighth house, we talking about just the sun, which is, I like to say, like, where is your sun sign? How is this transit affecting it? Is it squaring this Leo, or whatever the case may be for you? It all looks different, but just really kind of look into that and just take it one layer at a time, so that you can like put this code in to come through this other portal. And then I also seen the number 8 as like an hourglass, and because this is like a portal time, it's like I feel like we're either a turning of times, like you were speaking about us being in a more heightened consciousness because the soul star chakra is coming up so much. I like to think of the soul star chakra as our like root chakra outside of our body, basically. Like after we got introed into this dimension through our actual root chakra or the ground chakra, all those things, once we hit the crown chakra, which is the last one within our physical body, we're then hitting that soul star. And I feel like that's like the root chakra of this next dimension outside of our actual physical bodies. And it's like, just like that 8, it's like the little turning point, or um infinite point, or the connecting point, or the align point, and just like really seeing how that can shift you into a whole nother dimension. And again, I want to talk about that 8th house, because it's about death, rebirth. It's about generational wealth. It's about all of these things that are infinitely our DNA, legacy, and things of that nature. So it's like really paying attention to the symbolism within that, and just knowing that whatever it is that those thought processes that may be coming up for people at this time is something to reflect on, because we don't want to forget we is in Mercury retrograde, and the Mercury retrograde is in Virgo. And as a Virgo, I want to let y'all know this is a major time to be reflecting and refining and filtering out what's working and what's not, and giving yourself this amazing opportunity to be purified in whatever aspect they may look like, to be purified once we go direct, once we cross over into that new portal, cross the gate line. Once you get your code into it, it's like, oh, open up to infinite possibilities. So really just thinking about that symbolism, I think that's a great practice in itself. Like, what, just ask yourself, what does 8 mean to you?
Yeah, I like that question too. And I didn't know, I don't know very much about astrology. I just, know what I know by tuning into things. So that was helpful. And I like that you brought up the retrograde too. I know I meant to get there because you brought it up before we got on, but this I feel is a really important aspect. Think of the retrograde itself, of what can happen, the things that you just talked about, and think of this Lionsgate portal as kind of an amplifier of anything else that you're doing. It's giving sort of extra, oomph or energy. But this idea of reflection is really important during retrograde. And I mean, it's also important right now. And most of my clients and even the collective readings, rebirth has been, a big theme that's been coming up. And it's time to truly be reborn. I think for what has been coming up, and even for myself personally, I used the Lionsgate yesterday to release so many things. Like, I just can't even tell you. I mean, I would have a 15-minute spell of just like guttural, I could literally feel things pulling out of my body and crying, and then I would reflect on that and be fine, and then 30 minutes later I would feel something else. It was really like this energy, like vomit, like, but it was great because I've been trying to get rid of some old stuff for a long time. But this idea of like, think of what a rebirth is. Like, it's a whole new. It's not like you healed and turned into something else. And in the collective, I see like we're getting stuck in this cycle of needing to be healed. We're stuck in the cycle of healing, which we've been in for a lot of us for so long. It's like, no, it's time to step into the new you that does not require healing, right? That will going forward, because life is life. But it's time to step into the version of you, this new rebirthed, brand new version of you that doesn't require healing, because they're perfect. And so when a lot of people will say like, don't go back to old stuff during the retrograde and don't go back to the time, and I personally disagree. I do think reflection is a good idea, but noting what comes up for me differently. How am I viewing this differently now? And if you're not viewing it differently now, if you're going back to the same place of the person that needed to be healed or grow or whatever, that's your clear sign that thing doesn't need to be in your life anymore, and you can release it. But if you do find something new, going back to like old things is fine, but do them in a new way. I have had great success with that over the last probably 4 or 5 days about looking at what I had already built and going, do I need to scrap it or keep it? And a lot of the stuff, it was like I suddenly birthed, this other project that I've had the plans for 2 years. I wasn't intending on starting until client just fell in my lap, and I was like, okay, I better like get a website built and stuff like that. And I went back to that, and it was so easy. Like literally yesterday, I was like, wow, I just launched that.
Mm-hmm.
So doing it different is fine, but going back and trying the same thing the same way is a trap in general. But right now, it's a real trap, and it's going to keep you stuck in the old, and your new self is birthed or is being birthed, whether you're stuck over here in the old self or not. You move into it, start taking control of the new self, because otherwise the new self's doing what the old self did, which was got into this world. Nobody told it how it works, and it's just flailing around. This is your opportunity for a whole do-over with life, really.
Yes. And that's the actual story from what I know about the Sirius star as it relates to the Egyptian. I guess I could call it a mythology of Osiris and Isis and Osiris's brother. Okay, so this is the story that I know through just my learning about it. And like I don't like talking about it too much because I know that there are people who are extremely like devoted to this culture and things of that, and I don't like to get it misconstrued. But from what I do know is that Osiris's brother, I believe it was Horus, and this is Sirius star is basically represented as this Osiris, and his brother Horus was so very jealous of him, that he constructed this whole plan to kill him off, put him in a box, dead him. He then his wife or consort or whoever she was to him, Isis, then just really went on this journey to find him, and he was actually in the afterlife. This is why it's connected to that energy of rebirth, because he actually was offed, put in a box, went to the afterlife. She went to find him and bring him back to life using her healing powers, and then he then but had become like the reigning king in the afterworld, in the underworld. So it's like this energy of reigning once you dead anything that's not serving you in your life, and using that to then come back and rebirth yourself as a whole nother. And then I guess after he did came back alive and was the king in the underworld, he came and got his throne back from his brother who had offed him. And it's just this amazing story of rebirth, of overcoming, of becoming anew and better based off of how you navigate through the shadows and the darkness, and what you can learn from it, and what you can really alchemize basically throughout it, because that's what happens. And when we talking about retrograde and Virgo, listen, Virgo is all about the receipts. So when you're going back, you looking and saying, oh, where did I buy that? What did I do? How did that affect me? How did that make me feel? Oh, okay, then I'm gonna read the receipts, and once it's time to move forward, move forward accordingly. Okay, and in this new vessel, like I said, it's a purification. Virgo is a sign of purity. The filtration system for us is related to our digestive, our liver, those things that are like really filtering out our nutrients throughout our body. So we also want to think of that in the life, like, okay, what is nurturing me? What is nutritious for me? What is fueling my life at this time? These thought patterns, these habits, these routines, especially, what am I doing ritualistically that's I can change something simple as how I'm waking up in the morning, what I'm saying to myself, how many times I tell my kids to shut up, like just little simple things that's ritualistically happening that can be just done, and you can be a whole new person. So even like what you were saying about the affirmation, something as simple as an affirmation ritualistically and routinely in your life right now, that helps you reflect on who you are and what you can become, is so very powerful.
Yes. Yes to all of that. That I meant to talk about that mythology, and I'm no expert on ancient Egypt. So I only read Anyone's Welcome to, tell us, come on here and tell us we're wrong. But what I read too, in addition to what you said, was that like the flood was in the mythology was likened to, Isis's tears over the loss of her husband. And so it's really also tied to this like faith and determination. And, in here, like, she wanted him back, and and he wanted back, and eventually he came back. And I know for me, I really related to this, and I think that's why this is so powerful for me, because I've felt like there's the trauma in my life. When I first went through it, I felt I didn't have faith in myself. I didn't have determination. I felt like people were holding me down. And I really didn't believe that I was ever going to come back from it. Like, I just kind of went, my sort of luster is gone now. And that's unfortunate. But that's what that experience did to me. And in this last year, I went through something as equally as difficult, condensed into, the last probably 18 months of my life. And I just had this thing about like, I'm going to do it different this time. I'm coming back from this, and you should be worried if you fucked with me to get me where I am right now, because I'm not going to stay gone this time.
Absolutely. And this just came to me that when you said that, I was just reminded that we're actually in a 8 year. This when you the 2024 is a 8 year. So that's probably why a lot more people, of course, our consciousness is raising, are aware of this 8-8 portal, is because we are actually in an 8 year. And not only is it an 8 year, but it's also in the Chinese astrology, the year of the dragon. Again, that
Yes.
doop de doop de doop de doop de doop, infinite abundance, all of the things. And it's a 12-year cycle for the year of the dragon. And when I think of the number 8, I always like to I just my coding takes me to 3 and 5 more so than 4 and 4. But 4 and 4 too, but 3 and 5. And why did I say that? Why did I say that? I forgot why I said that. Anyway, the year of the dragon. Oh, because it's 12-year cycle. 12-year cycle equals 3. That's why I said that. And 5 meaning change. So it's like when we think about the things, because I was literally just going through that, crying about that. Like, I'm in this cycle that I see it, and I can really, like you said, be like, oh, I'm not the dragon is not taking me through this all the way again. There is so much power and potency and abundance, and I have so many resources that I did not have at the time that I went through that the first time. So I can be consciously aware, filter through this, reflect on this, and make a different change using this energy. So 12 years from now, 1 year from now, the next 8 or whatever the case may be, oh my gosh, what so much potency is going to be there, because I can see the level up within myself, whatever that may look like for any individual. But I can see it within myself, and I can look faithfully, I can look optimistically and abundantly forward towards something new, because I looking at my past traumatic incidents around this same time, and just in life in general. And it's like my mentality, I didn't even have that level of awareness, I didn't have that level of knowledge, and I made it here. Oh my gosh, my tears have flooded and cleansed and cleared all of the things. And now it's time for a coming, a new birth of me in a new dynamic, a whole new version of myself is here. And with the same, yes, with all of what I choose, all of the growth, all of the wisdom, we can choose to keep that because that can't be taken from us. Okay. We can be new, we can talk different, walk different, we can do our hair differently, but our wisdom, it does not leave, you know? So make sure that we're like really taking account of that during this time. It's just like what I'm wiser, and that naturally equates more abundance, more prosperity in your life when you just really think of your wisdom as currency, basically.
Yeah, I think for me, and maybe for a lot of people, I had some trouble leaving my old self behind, and I think I'm still, there's still pieces of her. Like I think that's what came out yesterday, but I'm ready and I'm actively, like actually my whole self is like, bitch, she's gone. So like, no, she's not here anymore. But I think people feel reluctant because, there's pieces of yourself that you really loved and you don't want to, and you want to like honor even the hurt and the trauma and the pain. But what you said, like that wisdom stays with you, and all of everything does stay with you. And we say that a lot. The lessons stay with you, the wisdom stays with you. That wisdom is reflected in your new vibration. Like all of the things you learned, even the, especially the hard ones, they adjusted your vibration. They fine-tuned you so that you're in the pattern, that you're a brand new pattern that you're in now, which is the pattern you closer to the pattern that you actually are, right? That old part of you was more distorted. So all of that is present. It's present in the deepest part of you. It's present in your pattern, in your vibration, in your unique frequency. It can never, like, you wouldn't be what you are without it, but that doesn't mean you have to carry it along with you. It's already being carried. It's already there as part of who you are now, as part of your more balanced, optimal frequency. So I encourage
Yes.
release.
Yes. And I love that. I love that you said that because again, with the eight, it's the as above, so below. It's like what we say that we're the old self is still a part of us, and we don't want to negate that. We don't want to be like, oh, that ain't me no more, F that, because that's still a part of you. It is with you. And if you, and I've had that issue for myself where I became awakened and I'm like, all of my old ways, that's not me. And just like really negating, okay, you the Purp 30, the energy healer, but what about Shabri? Okay, what about Shabri, and what about all of the things that Shabri went through and came to bring you here to this level of awareness? And that's a battle internally within you that could really stagnate your growth if you don't take on the learning and the teaching and honor thyself and really shed that skin. You can't put the skin back on once you shed it, of course, but you can honor the fact that that skin was covering you and protecting you and guiding you towards this new being, and created this new being. Actually, that's how the skin is made. It's like it turns into this being, you know. So really making sure that we're honoring our light, our dark, our up, our downs, our insides, really going internally and not just looking externally for any type of things like that. That's what I really always think of when I think of the eight. Since we're in the 8-8 portal, we in the year of the eight, we in the year of the dragon, we in all of this, all of the things, looking at the holistic parts of you and loving and honoring them and all of them. And how can you empower them? How can you utilize them to the best, whatever frequency you can get out of you? Because it's happening for you, not to you, because it is, like you said, it is a grief. There is, and that's a part of the process. That's a part of the process when we all end at some point of life, or all have to go through, those things, and grieving is a part of the process. So making sure that you're taking it as an opportunity, just like if somebody was to pass, you can't tell nobody how to grieve, but you want to make sure that you're like, okay, Don't hold on to guilt. Like, let the guilt go. I always actually got this from the Dr. B Sirius. Forgive yourself, forgive others. I forgive myself, I forgive others, I forgive my family for imperfections. And that's speaking to your genes, your DNA. And that's funny that I actually did, he taught that to me. Dr. B series. And it's so powerful. Like I felt it, and I did not know how just saying those things. Like, when we do this work, people really be looking for like the majorist, oh, go run a 5K marathon. Like, it don't take all that. What you need to do is say this affirmation a few times and really believe it. What you really need to do is sit with yourself for 15 minutes. What you really need to do is listen to these frequencies. What you really need to do is like change your mental capacity around the perspective, or your perspective on something. It don't really take the most majorest things to shift you vibrationally, because vibration is so subtle. So the subtle things are what's going to kind of change them. Like, it takes a very little amount of energy to make a volcano. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really doesn't take a lot. So make sure that we are honoring that when we are getting in these dark places. Like, faith. There's like Isis and Osiris. All it took was some faith and some tears to do this whole magical myth that we are now still celebrating years and years and years and years and years after. Like, that can be your life. That can be something very simple and pivotal within your life, is being faith, giving grace, releasing guilt, releasing shame around something at this time, forgiving yourself and others. Very simple stuff.
Yeah. I, yes. Simple stuff like, brushing your teeth every day prevents heart disease and your teeth falling out and probably a bunch of other stuff that I don't know about. That's like a 3-minute thing, right? And it's kind of the same way with energy work. We need to have our brain along with our energy, but today, especially, or in the Lionsgate especially, everything is amplified, as I said. So if you make a smaller action or a change of behavior today, as simple as, I'm telling you, it is this simple, as simple as I used to leave my dinner dishes and I would do them when I would make my teas and stuff in the morning, because I hate doing dishes and I don't, I'm one person. But I realized, like, no, you need to be more, you kind of need to have like even more structure. And so I started doing the dinner dishes after I ate dinner, and it made such a huge difference. So those little changes, putting away your cup instead of leaving it on the counter, like all of these things, they actually work. But during this time, they work 10 times more because we have this extra boost of this pure, powerful energy. And the flip side of that is, don't try to go, especially in retrograde, like we said, don't try to go back to an old pattern, because that's also going to be amplified. So it's going to set you back more than it might have before. And this isn't to be scary. It's to say to yourself, when I don't want to do something that I know I have to do, like I've had so much more stress that I have to meditate more often. And there's some days that I'm like, I don't want to meditate. I want to watch, Below Deck. And I tell myself, if you don't do this, you're denying yourself what you need. And if you do this, you're showing yourself love. And my mantra during that meditation, until I really settle into it, might be, this will make everything better. So I know what it's like to not want to do it, but remind yourself, I'm doing this because I love myself and because it's actually going to help me change. And those affirmations, words have vibrations. This goes back to the oldest, Hermetic philosophy. All of those words, symbols, sounds, they mean something. I mean, there's plenty of people who hated the Greek, right, translation, which was one of the original, languages, but Greek didn't have the same translation. So, yeah, doing those small things. And should we talk about those small things now some more? We sort of peppered them in, I think. So
Yeah.
I think whatever feels right for you. So I was going to throw some things out and say, like, again, you are the number one authority. Like, I spend a lot of time meditating. I think I have a pretty good insights, but I'm not your psyche, so I can't filter it through your experience and your thoughts in your mind. But some things, the first thing is, if you are feeling trepidatious about today and you're like saying to yourself right now, oh, I should have been keeping up on all of my self-care and, practices and stuff. The one thing I would do, yes, you can do the affirmation, but I would focus on your heart space, because what I got was I was doing a lot of heart work readings before. If your heart isn't in that right space, especially what you're saying, Purp, about like forgiveness and forgiving yourself and others, your heart's going to get irritated by this energy. So I would focus in on just doing what you can and using that to heal and release, and just pay attention to your heart and maybe not do more than that.
Exactly. And the lion actually rules the heart. The Leo rules the heart. So that is something, the heart of a lion, you know what I'm saying? That's definitely in alignment. These are, again, symbols and vibrations. So I think that's a really great one. Anytime, but especially at this time, to really tune into the heart space. And I've been feeling like when you're talking about the soul, the soul star chakra, and how that is the connection to the higher. Like our heart space is the connection to each other. Like that's literally how we're breathing our breath in. So really tuning into the breath to really take into to account where your heart is. How easy is it for you, or how um challenging it may be for you to sit with yourself for 3 minutes and do a breath work on an 8 count, a couple 8 counts in a breath, just like to align with this energy, like really reflect on that. Sit eight breath count.
Yeah, I like that. And something I tried yesterday, which was powerful for me, but it was, I would say, not for beginners, was to try all of that breathing through the nose and actually into your chest. In through the nose, out through the nose. Then try the difference in your diaphragmic breathing. I found for me that chest breathing was extremely active. It almost like loosened things up, especially in the heart space, to be released. So yeah, just try that. And it also activates more the parasympathetic nervous system, which most of us need more of because we're on overdrive with the sympathetic nervous system. So try those variations in your breath too, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also create. There's a lot of healing to be done in the womb space. This is for men and women, the sort of ethereal womb space, the sacral space, the space of creation. So creating on purpose, creating openly, freely, but things that have to do with your purpose. This is a nice way to say hello to the soul star chakra without getting too much into it. It's a master. It's a true ascended master energy in there. So you wouldn't walk up to, a true guru and ask them a silly question that you can find yourself, right? So that's how you want to treat that soul star. And you don't just walk up and go, hi, I'm this person and you're going to be my guru now, right? Like you have to prove yourself, all these things. So, but that soul star, I like what you said too. We have this earth star chakra that is sort of underneath our root chakra into the earth. And then we have the soul star chakra, and that line of energy really goes, especially from, really goes between those two. So that was one of the other things I was going to suggest if you're feeling I guess, trepidatious maybe, is really grounding into the body or into that earth star chakra and visualizing that energy going from the soul star chakra, which is like, your crown chakra is like 6 to 8 inches. The soul star chakra is above that. And same for that earth star chakra below your root. So like picture the energy, ground in to, the earth, to the world of matter, but allow that cycle to be present. And you can use that like blue-white energy if you want, or if you get another color to come through, let that color come through. And just imagine it flowing up between you and the soul star chakra, and just sort of reintroducing your energy body into reintroducing to that cycle, because most of us are very disconnected from that cycle. And if you start to feel like you only have to do that for like 2 or 3 minutes. If you start to feel dizzy and stuff like that, just stop. Like that goes without saying. If you start feeling weird, stop. But 2 to 3 minutes of that, in my experience, if you've not worked with your soul star chakra, is plenty. And it will be counterproductive if you do more.
Yeah, absolutely. The soul star is definitely step ladders into that. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for the practices. It's just being intentional with, your coding and your breathing, just really sitting and counting and understanding self, just going inner. Like that's really just the most basic, simplest practice here, and documenting what comes up for you. Write it down. That's very powerful. Write it down. Make it concrete through this act of writing. That is, bring out your wand. It's time to get magical right now. So whatever comes up for you, write it down and let it do what it do.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned breathing too. Now, like a new thing comes up. I mean, we've talked about this kind of spirit and matter, really, is what we're talking about with the soul star and the earth star chakra. It's like this ethereal and the physical, you having this perfect, yin yang blend, right? And breath, air, is one of the things that can manipulate both ethereal energy and matter. So that's one of the reasons our breath is so important, and comes from that heart space, which is also that blend of those sort of two selves. Really being in I think what's coming up is like the main theme, really, that I didn't maybe identify for all of this is, that reintegration with the wholeness, with the full self, with the matter and the form, or the matter and the spirit, or however you prefer to say it. But finding that wholeness will be super, super helpful. That's why, I realize a lot of the visualizations, and even as you bring up breath, are really all rooted in that type of union.
And that just reminds me about what you said about creativity. So I do creative life strategies, because it is very important to make sure that we are actively doing something while we in this world. But we don't have to completely be of this world. We aren't of this world. We're in this world. So making sure that we are creatively strategizing ways to like play. Like just play with the purpose that you're here. Like play with purpose. Do something fun, whether it's like writing, singing, like add that into your daily routines, just how, and whatever way that you possibly can, because we get so overwhelmed and over densified in the physical that we don't allow our spirit to exercise. And our spirit likes to play around a lot. Okay, so make sure we doing something to get that spirit active, because we can be bodybuilders and marathon runners and all of this in the physical, but How you letting your spirit play? Are you drawing? Are you singing? Did you do a cartwheel after you ran the marathon? Did you hop on the swings? Did you, play with a little Play-Doh or paint your nails yourself or whatever that might be? Like, do a little finger painting, or it's so many different ways to create. Just create, to laugh, to enjoy, to allow that childlike essence, because Leo, the lion, and that is also in the childlike spirit.
Yeah.
So yeah, really getting into that. That's very important. And I know that it is not always easy. It sounds simple to just be like, oh, I'm gonna do a little, singing here or there, but a lot of people do need assistance with that because things are so dense. So first, sitting with yourself, giving yourself the practice of hearing how you need to be actively exercising your spirit and your purpose and your higher being, so that, like you said, you can get introduced to that star, because it literally is like the guru. It literally is an introduction that you have to, like, oh, you ready? You see me. You finally see me. You're ready. Like they said, the teacher doesn't come until the student's ready. You got to get ready. So sitting with self for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes in these visualizations, that's the practice. And then going from there, and it's like, okay, what's guided? What am I guided to do about this? What am I guided to exercise and get creative with is very important.
Yeah. And I like how you mentioned that it's not easy. I think people discount play. It is how stuff got made. Like, so
That's how
it's
you got made. That's how I got made. Okay, they was playing. My mom and daddy was playing around.
yeah, right. Like, so it is that powerful. It's powerful in your brain. Like, there's good, actual empirical research, but it's powerful as part of your spiritual work. And what I find in my clients and in myself, my sort of old habit was like, yeah, I'm playing, and I do play on purpose. Like, I am not going to play at something that I know doesn't serve me. So, like, my play right now isn't going to look like going to a bar, even though that might be fun. Or I might go to a bar and not drink, but I know it's going to make me tired. Like, I love seeing live music, but like, I can't right now. So I'm going to play with things that I think are tied to my purpose, which is okay, but I have to stay present in it. And what I would do is I would do it, and I would get all these insights, and I would start feeling better, and I would start going, oh, how can I use this? How can I share this? How can I teach this? And I'm like, no, this is for you.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
being present in the play is just the quickest solve. Like, do it, be present. You don't have to revisit it unless it comes up later, but yeah, just for the sake of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful. And right now, because there is, this energy, some of it's hitting that sacral space, we almost need like this little funnel to funnel out some of that energy,
Mama coming to get them.
because there's almost like too much in there. So if you play, that's like this little offshoot. It's like this exhaust pipe for the sacral chakra, kind of, is what the play can be. And it can also stimulate the energy if you don't have any. But right now, I think a lot of us have a lot of that in there. It's not getting used right. So playing is a really nice way to release it in like this, in the right vibration and not under stress. And then it can also, funnel. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot. This is like even a bigger day than I realized. I think as we talked more, I was like, damn. And then that's the last thing I'll say is just remember, you're the boss, you're in charge, you're the guru, you're the authority, you're the expert. So, and use the tools that we have, the internet and social media and all of those things. I think of the internet as, truly the divine, a portal to the divine mind. So when I use the internet, I literally think to myself, anything I'm looking up, I already know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And we do. I mean, there's people who theorize the internet's not even real, that it's all of us like perceiving that we're using a thing called the internet, and
Yeah,
we can't comprehend of the fact that we could just know everything.
we do. So just honor it, honor all of our greatness, and that could be like overwhelming sometimes, but it's in pieces. Like just really piece it all together and play with it like a puzzle. That's really it. But it's all a bigger picture here that's within you. The universe is inside of you. So um having fun exploring. Like that's
Yeah,
really it.
enjoy it. Okay, anything else you want to add before we bounce?
No, that was it. That was all. That was a lot. This day, I'm about to just get into like planning this day. See what it brings.
Me too. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to say what we're talking about next week in case it changes, since it changed from like 2 days ago to today.
Yeah.
We'll see you same time next week.
Yes, please.
Okay, bye.